come here whenever. So this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever. So this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever. So this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever. So this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money.
Yeah, what's poppin'? Y'all know what it is, ain't nothing new under the sun, right? So I know a lot of y'all saw the last video, and I know it probably ruffled some feathers, right? However, everything that I ever said comes out my mouth is always rooted in fact and actual truth that can be historically verified. So that being said, one of the last conversations that MLK had about this subject he had with Harry Belafonte 1 week before his head got, so let's talk about it.
Why doesn't Black history teach us that Martin Luther King said he regretted integrating his people into the Democratic Party?
You know, the last thing Dr. King said to me before he was murdered, and when we asked him what was the matter, Martin said, I've been thinking long and hard about our struggle, and I sit here deeply concerned that I suspect we are leading our nation on an integration trip that has us integrating into a burning house. I don't think we quite understood how pathetic that remark was. It has certainly come to reveal itself fully when we look at the condition in which we find not only our world, but in particular, our nation. We have a lot of wreckages around this country. And perhaps the most distracting and perhaps the most important wreckage to take a look at is really the wreckage of the Democratic Party.
Now, I want to stop that there for one moment because I've showed you before. SEIU was created under the Taft-Hartley Act, which means 1199 SEIU was actually funded with your tax dollars. They're not giving you service. And I've already shown you what happened to former President George Gresham, how there was a false narrative created. And I've shown you by whom. Now, MLK said, we walked ourselves into a burning building. What was included in that 60 Civil Rights Act? Immigration from Africa and the Caribbean, because I've shown you the figures before. And before 1965, there were only 33,000 Africans on the United States of America's soil. That means all the millions and millions of colored folks that were here were foundational Black Americans. In the previous video, no one wants to have this conversation, but I've shown you the sentiment that comes from these cultures. Whether you're a Moyo, a Mayete, an El Abid, a Kafir, and a Kata, Mejora la Raza. This is just something that's ingrained in the culture. And until we have the conversation and deal with it, what's happening in our union is going to continue to happen. And I'm literally trying, I'm not even literally trying, I'm illustrating that right now by showing you exactly what's happening. And the crazy shit is that I guarantee you everything that I'm saying, nobody's even going to hear it. I promise you that. But let's continue.
Get him to the stage.
I've been a Democrat all my life. But the Democratic Party was not always our friend. As a matter of fact, a lot of what we had to struggle against was in the possession and the power of Democrats who came from the South.
The Dixie Democrats,
there are a lot of people who
the
made
know-nothings.
speeches that are as eloquent as will ever be written.
They started
and
the
we listened to a lot of
KKK.
redundancy. A lot of people who've carefully selected the phrases and applied them to the moment. What eludes us is the bankruptcy of the action itself.
Woo!
This poverty that our country is witnessing has never gone away. Most of the politicians
And the problem is we've gotten so caught up in our identity politics that we are supporting the people who are destroying us from within. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, the Tories. I can go on and on and on. And when you look, the Don Lululemons, who are they all married to? The people who complain about white supremacy the most all have white spouses. Kamala Harris, AOC, Ilhan Omar, I can go on, Toure, Don Lululemon, white supremacy, but pay attention to, because again, people don't want to have this conversation, right? But the one thing that you know is that when one of them says this is the plan, they all go with it and they're all aligned with the plan. So when the plan came, we're going to lie about Mr. George Gresham and the money, which I have the documents to prove. And this is what I keep telling y'all, but no one wants to have this conversation. And like I said before, until we have this conversation, this shit ain't going to stop.
know of have visited these places of poverty. They make it their business when they're running for the highest office in this nation to go into the heart of our pain, our anguish, our indignities, and make promises only to walk into the places of power.
How many billions of
and then
dollars?
deny us. I guess part of the reason I'm here is to really look through the ravages of the Democratic Party and see if anything is really worth salvaging.
Look, this is Harry Belafonte, one of Martin Luther King's best friends and a major financier of the civil rights movement. Now, throughout history, a lot of people have tried to accredit Martin Luther King's statement as if he was speaking in regards to America or the political system in general, but he wasn't. The man who he was speaking to, Harry Belafonte, made it clear that Martin Luther King was talking about the Democratic Party. Many people have no idea that before Martin Luther King, Black Americans never identified as Democrat. We were always Republican. The first Black Americans to ever serve in Congress, Republican. Frederick Douglass, Republican. Harriet Tubman, Republican. Booker T. Washington, Republican. W.E.B. Du Bois, Republican. Even Martin Luther King Sr. was a lifelong Republican. It wasn't until the Martin Luther King jail incident that he realigned himself with the Democratic Party. And I think sometime after, he realized he made a mistake. Most Black Americans have no idea about the true history of our political realignment.
And it's not just Black Americans, but more importantly, it is the individuals who come over here, like the Ilhan Omars, and Black Americans support them when they run for political office. The Byron Donaldsons. I'm half Panamanian, half Jamaican. I will not support or vote for reparations. Yet they are drafting up bills that are specifically for specific groups. In California, they have first-time homeowners grants for $150,000, but the caveat is that one or both of your parents must be an immigrant. That means birthright citizens are denied, and no one wants to talk about all the free money that is allotted that comes from our tax dollars. No one ever thinks about this shit. Somebody got to pay for this shit, and guess what? Guess who's paying for this shit? We are. We're the fucking breadbasket of the world, and ain't nobody paying attention. And again, they're using your intergenerational trauma to what? Manipulate your ass. Before we go, one more thing.
Not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. You threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House. When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first, and they put you last.
Right.
Because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. Not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
You heard it. Brother Malcolm himself said it. You're not just a chump. You a traitor to your race. And a lot of us sat back and watched the infiltration and watched George Gresham get dog walked. And we all see exactly who he got dog walked by. I mean, it ain't no fucking mystery. Would you like to hear it?
So this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice president who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money.
This is what I mean by anti-black sentiments. One goes to jail, the other free.
Gather all of you in one place with a strap to my chest.
Oh, hold on. These people are the tools of white supremacy and the systems in place. Check this out.
Happy Black History Month to everyone except the foundational Black Americans. I hate you niggas. I hate you niggas. Let's die. Ooh. If I could gather all of you in one place with a strap to my chest. You know what time it is. We're gonna have a party. We're gonna blow up the spot. We, more like me. I'm doing society a favor. But yeah, everybody else, happy Black History Month.
So this is why I always say that the
Now remember, right? We're xenophobic. This is what's happening in our home when we opened up the door for everyone else to come in. And this is how we get paid back when we assist and we help. And then people are upset that the delineation movement has started. But this is exactly why that delineation movement has started, because these type of behaviors and these actions that people act like are not happening, and then every time one of us say something, it's always the same kickback. Oh, y'all don't, no one ever said we didn't want y'all here. We open up the fucking door for y'all to come here, but this is how we get treated. And don't nobody want to have this fucking conversation. And that's the fucking problem. Until we talk about this shit, ain't nothing gonna fucking get fixed. You better fucking believe that shit. You better believe that shit. Hey, but hey, y'all can keep playing and act like you don't see it, but it's not gonna stop the fact that it's happening. And before I go, I'm gonna say one thing for those of you that are still here listening. For those that make it this far, leave it in the comment. Matter of fact, the word to leave in the comment is Okada News Network. And I'm going to tell you why I say that, right? Because when we all got colonized, the quote-unquote colonizers made names for all of us that they identify with all of us, whether it was Spick, Wetback, Kike, Nigger, Sanic, whatever it was, in all its many forms, right? But if you pay attention, El Abid, Kafir, Akata, Mayete, Moyo, Chimping Out, whatever you want to call it. But every other group that's supposed to be quote-unquote people of color made their own racial epithet specifically for Black Americans while they're living in our house. But you tell me what epithets Black Americans have made for anybody else in the diaspora, and I'll wait. And African booty scratcher that we used as children, that shit don't count because we used to say that to one another, but not to y'all. So again, you tell me what racial epithets Black Americans have made up for every other group of the diaspora, whether you're Nigerian, Jamaican, Trinidadian, from Senegal, Ugandan, South African, Egyptian, Somalian, whatever you may be, you tell me what the epithet is that we created to identify you when all of you have one to identify us, and then have the audacity to say that we're xenophobic or we are doing the white man's work. I just showed you the numbers on Border Patrol and ICE agents. Oddly enough, only 1.65% of that whole conglomerate are Black Americans. All the rest of them are Hispanic, Africans, and Caribbeans. So y'all are hunting your own people, but we get the fucking bad rap for this shit. And then when these type of things happen in our institutions, we can't call them out because we're called xenophobic. Well, guess what? I don't give a fuck. Cancel me if you want. It is what it is. I'm calling it the fuck out. Tighten the fuck up, because what y'all don't understand is when they're done using you, they're getting rid of birthright citizenship, which means naturalized citizenship is null and fucking void. So if you ain't got the lineage to tie yourself back to the motherfucking land, pretty soon you're gonna be out of here. And understand, Obama set you up with the Dreamers Act, because you tell me how many people signed up for DACA and actually got citizenship. All they did was logged where all the illegals who had been in for decades were at, so that when this shit rolled around, they already knew where y'all was at. But ain't nobody seeing the long game because y'all too caught up on identity politics. But yeah, realize, transparency forces accountability. Keep your eyes to the stars, keep that head on a swivel, because we're diabolical demons, aka the Viper's Pit. And guess what? Historically, we've always been the mongooses to always rally up to fight for everybody else. Just like when this first started. Remember, old boy, black people, you think we need your help? And we see how that turned out for everybody.
I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right? Because I am one of the vice presidents who vote against the money that George asks for, the members' money. I come here whenever, so this shop is locked. So you guys can go someplace else, because I already tell my members the truth, right?